Cool. All right. Well, here we are. We're back. We didn't get canceled.
Not yet.
Woo-hoo!
We would have to cancel ourselves. So,
So this is season 1, episode 2.
Yep, we made it past the pilot. And so
And
much has happened.
we have a name for the show.
So much has happened. We have a name for the show. We have a logo. The
name is Talking Threadheads.
Yeah, the name of the show is Talking Threadheads, and we have a little logo that I believe Steve Apple made for us, and is very nice, and we're going to be using that. I can't wait to figure out how to use that on the YouTube thing. It'll be a nice lesson for me. And then the other big thing that happened was the early Jazz Fest lineup is out. So we have something to talk about, something to get excited about. So we'll get to that in a little bit with our guests. So first things first, last week we were really excited and we forgot to introduce ourselves, right?
We did. So this week, Nicole, why don't you, because I don't want to talk about myself. So why don't you take a minute and tell our viewers, our thousands and thousands of viewers.
Yeah. So I'm Nicole Snyder. I live in the Philadelphia area, and I'm obviously a lover of live music, all of that stuff, right? I guess what people usually know about me is that I'm a cycling enthusiast. I think people usually associate me with bicycles, so I like that. That's cool. I love everything cycling related. Any cycling adventure you invite me on, it's a yes. I'm a pescatarian. I don't know what else is interesting about me. Apparently, I'm a Civil War nerd. Because I went to Gettysburg last weekend and I loved it, and I never knew that I was interested in that. So I guess I'm just kind of a geek, and I'm interested in many, many things. So that's it. That's all you get.
You're a seamstress.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. I have many hobbies, but we'll get to those at another time. I'll sprinkle my hobbies in as this program goes along. I'll mention them.
So thank you for sharing that. For this episode, we have Vicki Weber. And Vicki, thank you for joining us.
Happy to.
It's nice to see you. We may have seen each other on a Zoom call in the last year. I can't even remember, but I know I haven't seen you since that would be April of 2019, I guess, right?
Good.
Which is just crazy to think about. Well, we'll talk about Jazz Fest in a minute. And so you'll answer that question later about whether or not you'll be at Jazz Fest in October. But we have a list of questions for you. I'm going to ask the first question, which is, when was your first Jazz Fest and what was that experience like?
So in 1998, that was my first year to attend. I was looking on the internet for someplace that I could see Bonnie Raitt or Keb Mo. And I noticed that they were both playing at this thing called the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. So at the same time, I discovered the chat board, which was the old purple board. And the people on there said, oh, yes, come. It's wonderful. You'll have a great time. We'll take care of you. So at age 42, I once again lied to my mother and said I was going to Jazz Fest with some college girls from my town, which I was going solo. And I figured I was either going to have the time of my life or be raped and murdered. So you know how that turned out. There was no murder and there was no rape involved.
So many. This could lead to so many questions.
So one of the things one of the guys suggested, I won't say who, was that because I didn't have a lot of money, I should stay in Slidell. And I was a drinker at the time, and I was staying out till 1, 2, 3 in the morning. I only went for like Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday. That was a mistake. I never did that again. But it was fabulous. The people like Janine was one of the people who took me under their wing, and I had a fabulous time, and I've been back every year but one since.
I'm so intrigued to ask you about the line you said about lying to your mother, but we'll just let that one slide.
She knows the truth now, actually.
I guess that's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, I shared with her that I did lie to her that in 1998.
But I always love your story about how you ended up going to Jazz Fest, because I love the idea of you just kind of going and doing something adventurous on your own. And I think that you kind of pay that forward in many ways, because you've got this whole little flock of like us ladies who sometimes fly solo, and we all kind of just like flock together, and I think that creating sort of a safe space where it's not weird to be like a lady who like is really into just hanging out and listening to music. That's one of the things that I love about you and that crew and your friends, that like it's not weird to you guys that like I want to roll into a concert by myself. I mean, I don't have to be by myself, but I'm often by myself, and I just want to listen to the music. And to a lot of people, that's weird, and not just because they think it's dangerous. They don't get it. So I love that you get that.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. How many jazz fests have you been to?
I think this year will be 21.
Wow.
Nice.
So in those 21, I love asking this question. Can you tell us about 2 or 3 performances that were very memorable to you, and what made them so memorable?
So I have to say 1998 because it was my first, and I got to see Keb Mo, and that was back when the blue stage was where the Jazz and Heritage stage is now. It was outside, and pretty much felt like he was just singing to me. And also that year, some of the people I met took me to the Funky Butt, and I was introduced to the Wild Magnolias, and I got to see Henry Butler judge a Funky Butt contest at the Funky Butt. So that was amazing. And then I think Swag mentioned this one, but in 2008, the Midnight Disturbers in the torrential downpour was epic, and everyone on stage was soaked, completely soaked, playing their hearts out. And off to the side comes this tarp, and this tarp marches up the steps and onto the stage, and out shoots Big Sam playing his trombone drop. It
I love
was
that.
so awesome. And then the third one is 2009, when Anders came back from his final rehab, and he was playing on Acura, and Carl was on bass, and Stanton was on drums, and Robert Walter was on keys, and Lisa and Ed and I were on the rail, and we pretty much cried through the whole set because it was such a big moment.
That's lovely. Thanks for sharing those memories. Those are great.
Yeah.
Those are really great. Do you have so you wake up in the morning on a Jazz Fest day. What do you do when you get inside the fairgrounds? First thing you do.
So I come in the Sauvage entrance, and I traditionally have always taken my chair to the Jazz and Heritage stage, and then go over to say hey to whoever's working at Miss Lena's Zulu Diamond Cutters tent, and then get some food and go, if gospel's playing, go to gospel, or if Jazz and Heritage has something playing, go there. But the last few years I've kind of mixed it up, and I've actually sat up at the big stages on occasion. So you can't always find my chair at the Jazz and Heritage stage.
Well, you just took the wind out of my sails with the next question, because I was gonna, well, not really. When I think of you, and I know I'm not alone in this, everybody knows that you can frequently be found at the Jazz and Heritage stage with your special chair, and oftentimes with a smile, well, always with a smile, but oftentimes with a tasty treat, something that you're snacking on. I always remember that my partner, Chris, when he first met you, you fed him a bite of gumbo, like from your bowl, and he was like, I like her. She's good. But I don't think you feed everyone, but you do have a very interesting and unusual message attached to the back of your chair. I don't know if you still do, but can you tell us a little bit about what that message is?
I do. Hang on one second.
We
So
have.
I pulled this out because back when I decided to do this, I made a sign, and I noticed that there were so many empty chairs at festivals. And so I decided to invite people to sit in my chair. This is going to be backwards, I'm pretty sure.
That's okay.
But
No, we can see it.
We can see it.
So this is the sign that I made, and I was a teacher, so I laminated it at work, It says, "Feel free to sit in my chair while I'm out dancing. Happy Fest." Now I don't have this type anymore. That was deep in my festival drawer. I actually write on the back of the chair. And for a couple of years, I had a notebook. Somebody said, "Hey, attach a notebook and a pen." So I attached a notebook and a pen to the chair, and so people could sign in and say, "Hey, I sat in your chair." And I met Vanessa Pickler through my chair, and also Michonne Reed, who lives in New Orleans. So
I had no idea that that's how you met Vanessa. That is
yeah,
such a cool
I
story.
didn't either. She's the one who told me.
Wow. See,
That's great.
these stories and connections are coming out, and I never knew them. This is great.
Yeah.
So that sort of segues into the
Mhm.
next question, which is, how did you learn about the Threadheads, and what's been your involvement with the Threadheads over the years?
So it started back when I first found Jazz Fest, because there was the purple board, and a lot of people who are Threadheads were part of that, or a few people were part of that group. Um, and then and I was on the chat board probably until the last year, and I stuck it out longer than most, and don't really go there anymore much, but has a special place in my heart because I met so many music friends there. I was one of the 20 or so people who used to help put on the Patry, and I still coordinate the volunteers. And for anyone who's listening and wonders, no, you do not get in free to the Patry if you volunteer. We're a charity. And so you buy a ticket just like everyone else.
Love that.
So
Can I say one thing? What I
yeah.
heard you say, which you didn't say, is there will be a Patry this year. Right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
And you will need volunteers.
And I
And you
will
will
need
need volunteers.
Great. All right. Well, so you have I'll let you speak about this and present it however you wish. But you are outspoken about ADA, so Americans, I'm sorry, ADA, American, what does ADA stand for?
American Disabilities Act.
Thank you. I knew that. That was embarrassing and unprofessional. All right. So you're outspoken about ADA issues at music clubs, and you have had all sorts of experiences as a person who has some accommodations that you would like to see met when you go out to music clubs at night to enjoy music. And you've been pretty outspoken, in my opinion, about some of the issues that you faced. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So my issue is my back. And so I like to have a chair that I can go to at some point. My best experience ever, surprisingly, was at the House of Blues. And I think that was because I called them to discuss, and they love for you to call in advance and say you're coming. And so they set up chairs on the side of the stage for us. I think Renee was with me. I can't remember who else. And we were right beside the stage for that show. So that was pretty awesome. But I also had a not so good experience there when I didn't call. They put me in VIP, which was nice, but the security guard was less than nice. So, I mean, I've had a bad experience at Maison. They were extremely rude and unaccommodating, but I've had some great experiences at Tipitina's ever since Galactic bought the club. They are quite receptive, and I love going there because of that.
What do you think the music clubs could be doing to make things a little bit better for folks who love live music, want to be able to go out at night, but might be facing some discomforts, issues with aging? What would be some simple things that they can do to help music fans?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that because I have an idea.
I want to hear it.
So what I would love to see, like there's a club that I go to in Northwest Arkansas in Fayetteville, that's really big, and it has kind of a little area that's a little raised platform where they have a couple tables. I just think it would be awesome because the people who are live music listeners are older now, right? So there's a lot of people who would appreciate a chair. So if there was just a little section where, and I saw this at a club in Detroit, where those people can park their bodies, just a small section, maybe 20 seats. I think it would allow us to keep coming to shows.
Love that. That's great.
So based on, let's look forward. We're really excited about October. Now we have an early lineup. So can you tell us, looking at that early lineup, or just looking in your crystal ball and anticipating who is going to be there, what would you recommend for first timers, first time Jazz Fest goers? Maybe recommend a few New Orleans artists, and then maybe some under the radar non-New Orleans artists that folks might want to check out.
So I don't want to forget this part. I think that one of the things you can do that's fun is be sure that you notice the parade schedules on your cubes and the interview schedules, because especially if it's hot, you can go on the grandstand and see some fabulous interviews, and you can catch those parades as they go around the infield. As far as who's playing, at the top of my list is Ziggy Marley playing Bob, because I never got to see Bob, so I'm going to take that as a substitute. Also Tedeschi Trucks Band and Brittany Howard. And locally, I would never miss Anders or Galactic. And the New Orleans Nightcrawlers, they're like famous now because they won a Grammy. And then, we didn't get a lot of lineup like we usually do at this point, but you need to see Mardi Gras Indians just to have that experience and see those beautiful costumes. And I would also add probably Mia Borders, and also Sam and the True Believers. He's part of Honey Island.
Oh yes, Sam Price, right?
Price and the True Believers. They're a really great band.
By the way, I think the Nightcrawlers have officially changed their name. It's now the Grammy-winning New Orleans Nightcrawlers.
Oh, that's
you can't just say Nightcrawlers anymore.
Oh, I'm glad I mentioned the Grammy at least.
Yeah, exactly.
And hey, you want to mention what the Threadhead connection is to the Grammy award-winning New Orleans Nightcrawlers? Anybody?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, go for it, Chris.
Well, I think I know the Threadheads supported the last New Orleans Nightcrawlers album, and then this one, I think the one that won a Grammy, I'm pretty sure that the Threadhead Cultural Foundation provided a grant for that. So that's great. Which reminds me that we should be plugging the Threadhead Cultural Foundation in every one of our episodes. And so if you know about the Threadhead Cultural Foundation and you donate some more. If you don't know about the Threadhead Cultural Foundation, look them up. You can Google them. Great organization. They support the artists in New Orleans and Louisiana at large. It's a great organization.
Yes,
Um,
we love it.
Yeah, and so while we're plugging the Threadheads and projects, I want to plug a project that our Vicky, our interviewee, is involved in. Not really a project, but sort of a vocation, an artistic calling. Vicky is a incredibly talented, and I'm going to have you explain this because I'm not going to explain what the actual craft is very well. But all I know is that you make amazing fashion. Like, I'm a huge fan of everything that you make. You made me these really cool short alls, and I had them on earlier, but I got food on them when I was cooking dinner, which means I should have been wearing my apron that you made for me, my beautiful ice-dyed
Oh,
apron, which I'm usually wearing in the kitchen, one of the two that you made. But Vicky is a really talented artist, and she makes so many beautiful items by hand, and I'll let you explain what the deal is.
so I think it was, well, I call it my pandemic hobby gone wild. And so, and I think it was the end of the summer, Renee told me that she was doing this thing called ice dyeing. I said, oh, that sounds cool. I may try that. So in November, I tried it. And by January, I was dyeing everything. And I decided maybe I needed to make it into a little small business so that maybe at some point I'll be able to break even, because I do new stuff, but I also upcycle and buy at thrift stores and Goodwills. And I just washed out a bunch of new stuff today. And but the process is that you put ice on your item of clothing, and then you put powdered dye on the ice. And so what happens is the dye splits into whatever colors it's made up of. So you don't really ever know what you make, how it's going to look. It's fascinating.
Well, however that works out, you're doing it right because everything you make looks so beautiful. So, if anybody here, I don't know, in the Jazz Fest universe really likes tie-dye goods, they should check out Vicky's stash. And you're selling as, is it
It's
Pied Piper?
Pied Piper tie-dye, and it's only on Instagram right now. I haven't set it up on Facebook.
Cool.
So
But
when we post this interview on Facebook, can we add the link to Vicky's page so people can find that?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Our
okay.
first product placement, we're hitting the big time, Chris.
Oh
Our
my
dreams are coming true.
Isn't the deal that we get 10% of, oh no, never mind, sorry.
Well, thanks, Vicky. This was wonderful.
I loved it. Thanks for having me. And yes, Chris, I will be at Jazz Fest in October and in April.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Vicki, thanks so much for joining us.
All right.
All right, thanks.